raining. Thank goodness. Welcome to the Stevens Street Tour. My name is Maynard Harding, and I'll be your tour guide this afternoon for what we think will be one of our more interesting tours. Cameras on, ladies. Oh, good. Stevens Street was very interesting for our research team. We found a lot of interesting characters, and I might add there's still some interesting characters living on Stevens. We won't mention any names, though. Our tour is brought to you today by the Iron Horse Historical Society and the Parsons Sun. Speaking of the Iron Horse Historical Society, if you haven't been in their new museum, you need to go. It is one of the finest small railroad museums in our state. And incidentally, is totally funded by donations from nice folks like you. I won't mention that anymore, okay? That's about enough, isn't it? Stevens Street, named for Robert Stevens, superintendent of the Katy Railroad. The odd thing about Stevens Street is that when Robert Stevens laid out the town, it ran on the south end from the alley on Morton to the south side of Stevens. There wasn't any north side to Stevens. The north side of Stevens was prairie for about 2 or 3 years until they added on to the community. Some interesting things about Stevens to me was, for example, the 1880 census tells us that 46% of the adult males over age 18 that lived in this tour area worked for the railroad. A great many first generation Irish, German, English, and Swede. A lot of interesting folks. We didn't anticipate finding a large number of old houses on Stevens. Shows you how wrong you can be. We found a lot of old houses on Stevens. Now, I'll grant you, we did not find those big 3-story homes that we found on Grand and Morgan and Broadway, but we did find some very lovely smaller homes. And we would like to dedicate our tour this afternoon to the residents on Stevens. They went all out to prepare their neighborhood for this street tour. And yes, thank you very much. They will appreciate that. One of the lessons that we have learned in the 12 tours is that wherever we go in our town, north end or south end, that when we say we're going to do a tour of your neighborhood, you are ready. The day of the tour, you are ready. And that's really important because we have a number of people here from out of town today, and they think that we have one of the finest small cities in the state of Kansas and some of the more beautiful old homes. And we're getting a reputation for that. Just for that, the reputation of it. We have about 23 actors today in period costume. Some interesting folks. And I think we probably ought to get this show on the road. There is one thing I need you to do for me, if you would. If you would stay in the street, off the yards and off the sidewalks. Not only for the actors that will be on the sidewalks, but many of these people on this street have really worked hard getting that yard in shape for you today, and we'd like to leave it that way when we go home. The sarsaparilla stand, by the way, is set up. It will be set up again at 17th in Stevens, where we will take a short break. Now, if you're ready, go back into the past for a little bit. Roll up your sleeves, because here we go. Ready? Colvin. Father, we've asked you to come back from the past today to tell us about St. Patrick's Church. Is that a story?
Well, there's lots of stories, not only about this church, but frankly, how the churches got started here in Parsons.
All right, let's see. Let's start off by asking a little bit about you. Where are you from?
Well, originally I came from Marysville, Kansas. I came to this territory in 1868 as an Indian missionary priest to the Osage Indian Mission. And I covered most of the counties in southeast Kansas, several over in Missouri, clear down to Indian Territory.
Land, you had a big territory, didn't you? Well, tell us about the churches in Parsons. Is this church here the only church we've ever had?
No, as a matter of fact, on July the 1st, in 1872, we built the first Catholic church here in Parsons. It was at Gabriel and Central Street.
Gabriel and Central? Well, that's clear on down there quite a ways, isn't it? Was that a big church?
No, it wasn't a real big church. In fact, the church's membership prospered and outgrew its facility. And so we ended up building a second church about 9 years later. And that was at Durr in Central.
My land. Well, how long was the church at Durr and Central? When did you come over here?
Well, the Durr and Central Church also became too small. And this facility here was started in 1872, but was not completed until 1900. 1892. It was not completed until 1900 due to a money shortage.
I wonder if any churches have any problems with that today. Mr. Richard Durth, ladies and gentlemen. A little more about this church. The original building to set on this property was Dr. Kennedy's livery stable, which was moved intact from the little town of Ladore, 5 miles northwest of here. That was in the winter of 1870. The next spring, Dr. Kennedy's livery stable was moved across the street where Scott and Rachel Harding's house is in 1910. I think that's why Scott has such a good garden over there. The next building that's set on this property was a 12-room Victorian home belonging to Mr. George Reynolds. This home stood here until the church was started to be built in 1891, and it was torn down, but from 1882 to 1891 it was used as a convent for the Sisters of Laredo from Osage Mission. So the property has a long history. A beautiful old church on it now. Let's see who else we can find on the street. One thing we can say, they are getting prettier, aren't they? Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, sir.
Did I ask you your name and the year you're from?
I'm really not supposed to talk to strangers.
Oh. That's always been my problem. Well, if you tell me, I won't tell anyone, okay?
You must know my name is Pearl Younger, and the year is 1883.
1883. Well, do you live here on Stevens, Miss Younger?
No, I'm just waiting for a friend of mine to get out of Mass. I actually live just up the street on Crawford at the Grand Central Hotel.
Grand Central Hotel? Who owns that hotel?
A man named Jake McLaughlin.
Jake McLaughlin. And are you staying with the McLaughlins there at the hotel?
Yes, I am.
I take it you're really not from around here, though.
No, I'm not.
Very secretive, isn't she? You have a mother and a father?
I'd rather not say.
This is going to be difficult, isn't it? Well, if you're staying with the McLaughlins, are they friends of your mother's or anything like that?
We've been having some family problems, actually, and they are friends of my family. So I came to stay with them until we got everything worked out.
Well, could I ask you, just between you and me, where is your mother?
She's living in Detroit now.
In Detroit. Is that where her big problem is in Detroit?
Actually, she ran into problems in Arkansas when she was arrested for horse theft.
Horse theft. I see. Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Well, could you tell me your mother's name?
I'd really rather. I really need to be getting home, sir.
If you would just whisper to me, I won't tell anybody.
Belle Star.
Her mother was Belle Starr. And this is Bridget Brandenburg, ladies and gentlemen. As Paul Harvey would say, Bob, and then there's the rest of the story. Belle Starr was arrested and sentenced by the hanging judge in Indian Territory, Judge Parker. Sentenced to 9 months at the correctional facility in Detroit in 1883. Belle Starr was concerned about her daughter Pearl and sent her to live with the McLaughlins at the Grand Central Hotel on Crawford here. Jake McLaughlin owned another hotel at Oswego. Him and Belle Starr were old friends from the old days. Jake was somewhat of a desperado himself. Belle got out of prison in Detroit. She did indeed take Pearl, and they headed back to Indian Territory. Belle Starr was killed by an unknown assailant in 1889. Well, almost unknown. We decided to track our Pearl, younger, or Pearl Starr, to see what happened to her. I can tell you that Pearl Starr wound up in Fort Smith, Arkansas. As a businesswoman, I will leave it to your imagination. I am told by the Arkansas Tourism Bureau, by the way, that Miss Starr's business was one of the finest west of the Mississippi River. And if you will follow me, we've had some interesting characters on our tour in the past. And here's one for you right here. Good afternoon, sir.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
What are you doing here? Is this paint you're carrying around and stuff?
Paint my rope, getting ready to go to work.
Getting ready to go to work? Yeah. Well, sir, could I ask you your name and the year you're from?
Yeah, the year is 1892. My name is Claude Roberts, and I work for the water department.
Oh, you work for the water department. Well, what are you doing with paint if you're working for the water department?
Well, I'm on my way over there to paint that tower before it rusts away.
Isn't that interesting? 1892, and you work for the water department and you're painting. Did you know that water tower was that old? Well, sir, tell me about that water tower. When did they build that thing?
Well, it's brand new, and that it replaces the old tower up over 20th and Stevens. That old tower is 100 foot tall, 100 foot. That leaks though, leaks real bad. Every winter, it frees all the doors and windows shut on the houses around it. They decided they better do something.
Yeah, that might be a good idea.
Yeah, we built this new one then. That very same year, we brought in a water line from the Neosho River. Before that, we just had water over here on Lebec Creek. Oh, I see. Yeah. That all our water problems solved forever.
Amen, brother. Mr. Roger Area, ladies and gentlemen. It's true about the old water tower at 20th and Stevens, by the way. Very. That thing just leaked like a sieve. What we found when we researched this water tower were two interesting things. Number one, during construction of that water tower, according to some articles in the newspapers, some days there would be 5,000 people in town just watching him build the scaffolding for that thing. This was a modern wonder, this water tower. There's one other thing. A week from yesterday, next Saturday, a very unusual reunion is taking place in our town. It's the Water Tower Gang. The Water Tower Gang is meeting here next Saturday, and they are kids that grew up in the shadow of that water tower. That ought to be a real interesting group. Now, you want to follow me down the street just a little ways? Well, there were some pretty ones, weren't there? You know. Let's find out about this one. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm going to have to ask you to get these people back out of the way a little bit.
Oh, well, what's going on here?
Well, I'm trying to lay out some new streets for the city.
For the city, the streets. Well, let me ask you your name, sir, and the year you're from.
My name's Zachary Hayes, and this is 1873.
Well, you're wearing a badge. What's your position here, Mr. Hayes?
Well, I happen to be the city marshal, but I'm also the street superintendent.
2 paychecks, right?
Not really.
Oh, not really. Well, what streets are you laying out here, Mr. Hayes? What's going on?
Well, the city of Parsons has grown quite a bit since Mr. Stevens laid it out in 1870, and actually stopped right on the south side of Stevens Street. Stevens, of course, he named for himself. At a recent city council meeting, why the city decided to extend the city to the north. And originally, Stevens wasn't part of the city of Parsons. Now it's officially a street in Parsons. We're also adding the streets of Gabriel, named for Dr. Gabriel, who's our mayor. Chess, named for George Chess, who built the Katy shops. And Durr, for Andrew Durr, city councilman. Then we've also added, just to the west of us here, George Reynolds Street. That's the street that happens to run into his nice Victorian home.
Boy, you are adding a lot down in here, aren't you? This is Gary Chubb, ladies and gentlemen. You want to know a couple of those other streets, just real quickly. Central was Riggs Avenue. Washington was Skiddy. Skiddy was notorious for, well, I'll tell you that some other time. Right now, I need to go right through this crowd and right across the street. They are getting prettier, aren't they? Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Could I ask you your name and the year you're from?
My name's Augusta Pearson, and it's 1880.
1880. Are you a married lady?
Yes, I am.
What's your husband's name, ma'am?
His name is John. He's a wholesale grocer.
Oh, he's a businessman here. Well, this is a lovely old house. I'm assuming this is your home, right?
Yes, actually, it's not very old. It was built in 1876. Bought the land in 1874 and moved in 1876. So we've only been here 4 years.
Well, it's a beautiful place. Tell us a little bit about this husband of yours.
Well, he came to Kansas in 1869, and he had a land claim southeast of town on the Labette Creek. He went into business with W.K. Hayes in Mendota at the grocery store and post office. When they moved the post office into the new city of Parsons, they brought their store in, and they were there till 1875 when he bought out his partner, and then he's been in business by himself ever since then.
An interesting man. Now, you know, I was wondering in 1880, Miss Pearson, this is a big house, and it looks to me like it would take quite a bit to take care of it. Do you have any help?
Actually, I do. We have a live-in couple, Rebecca and Ezekiel Stewart, and they have 2 children. Rebecca helps me with the housework, and Ezekiel does the yard work and repair work and so forth.
It's tough, isn't it? Miss Jan Chubb, ladies and gentlemen. Jan's new outfit. Nice, huh? Just follow me down the street, will you? Oh, we have an interesting couple here. Look at here. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mr. Harding.
Can I ask you your name and the year you're from?
Why, certainly. My name is Elida Moore, and the year is 1880.
1880. Well, now, who's this young man here?
Well, matter of factly, this is my son, William II. He is named after my husband, who is also William. My husband is employed as a machinist for the MKT Railroad. He also serves as president of the school board here in Parsons.
I see. Well, he's active in the community, too. Well, tell us about your house. When did you build this, or did you?
Well, actually, we came here from Vermont shortly after the city of Parsons was founded in 1871. We bought this lot in January of 1878 and was able to build a house here later on that same year after we saved some money.
I see. Understand that, don't we? Well, now, you are a wife and a mother. Do you work outside the home?
Oh, yes, I certainly do. I am a third grade school teacher at our brand new Lincoln School directly across the street here, so it's very convenient for my work. Although I do find it very difficult to be a career woman and a mother and a wife.
Does that sound familiar to you? This is Martha Walters and her grandson, and his name is Brett. And Martha is one of the newest members of our crew, by the way. She did a nice job, didn't she? Okay, let's hit it again. They are getting prettier, Bill. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mr. Harding.
Could I ask you your name and the year you're from?
My name is Jenny Arthurs, and the year is 1882.
1882, here on Stevens Avenue. Hey, that rhymes, doesn't it? Well, ma'am, it's obvious to me that you are not a housewife, and there's not a house here, right? What do you do for a living?
I'm a teacher at the new Lincoln School.
Oh, you teach at Lincoln. Well, that's very interesting, isn't it, Bob? What do you teach at Lincoln? Now, Lincoln is a grade school, right? I mean, it's a 1 through 6 or something?
Well, actually, I'm a high school teacher. There's a, sorry. The elementary school is on the lower level, and then we do have a high school on the upper level.
We have the high school on the 2nd floor of Lincoln? My goodness. Well, how long is the school term normally at Lincoln School?
Well, normally the elementary school students go to school from September until May, and then the high school students, it varies from 4 to 6 months, depending on the harvest time.
Depending on the harvest time. In other words, if Dad needs the kids on the farm, they don't go to school, right?
That's right.
That's very interesting, isn't it? Well, this is Miss Carolyn Bryson, ladies and gentlemen. A little more to this story. The original Lincoln School was built in 1880, back quite a ways in the middle of this block. It stood till 1923, when the second Lincoln School was built, which was built right on the street here. And the third Lincoln School then was built in 1970. There's something else that you ought to know about Jenny Arthurs. Jenny Arthurs only taught at Lincoln School for about 2 more years after we visited with her. Jenny Arthurs did something very unusual, Steve. Jenny Arthurs was the first woman in the state of Kansas to pass the bar exams to become an attorney. She eventually became Assistant Attorney General for the state of Kansas. Now, that's a good story, isn't it? Thank you, Carolyn. Here we go.
Okay.
They do get prettier, don't they? Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
To ask you your name and the year you're from.
Sure. My name is Mary Foyle, and the year is 1904.
1904. Is that Miss Foyle?
It's Miss Foyle.
I see. Very nice. Well, do you live here by yourself, Miss Foyle?
No, I don't. I live here with my father and my 4 younger brothers and sisters.
Oh, my. Quite a household here. Well, tell us a little bit about your father.
My father is a building contractor. He built this house 2 years ago in 1902. He purchased the north side of this block, part of the 1700 block of Belmont, and a house on North 18th where we lived before he built this one.
How much did he give for all that?
For all of that property, it was $13,200.
Wow. A lot of money even then, wasn't it? Well, now, you said you lived here with your father and your brothers and sisters. What about your mother?
My mother passed away when I was 17 years old. She was 42. She passed away.
Okay. You're the oldest of the children, I assume.
Yes.
Who's taking care of this family?
I am. I take care of all my brothers and sisters, the house, the laundry, everything.
She did for a long time, too. And what's your name, your real name? Kaiser, ladies and gentlemen. This is another one of the new girls on the tour. We're getting better, aren't we? Thank you, guys. Brad, are you all right? Okay. Well, I said they were getting prettier, but, you know, everybody makes mistakes, right? You know. Good afternoon, sir.
How do you do?
Could I ask you your name and the year you're from?
Well, it's October 1882, and I'm J.P. Sheeran, captain of the steamboat Cora Scott.
Captain of the steamboat, Cora Scott. Lee, sounds interesting, doesn't it? Well, you don't live here on Stevens, though, right?
No, I don't. As I'm sure you know, the Cora Scott is over on the Neosho River. We have a regular run between St. Paul and Oswego. Because the Neosho's not the best river to run a steamboat on all year round, I'm thinking of leaving, so I came over to visit some friends before I go.
Now, wait a minute. Are you running excursions on the Neosho River? How big is this boat of yours? 12-footer or something like that?
Well, it's not quite big enough that I could get all of your friends on it, but it'll hold 50 people, carry 30 tons, and it's 42 feet long.
Well, didn't you hear that? On the Neosho River. Now? Well, Captain, if you're getting ready to leave, where are you going?
Well, I thought I'd head on downriver, maybe to Fort Gibson in the Indian Territory, or maybe on down to Fort Smith, Arkansas.
On the river.
On the river.
On the river.
Not the only way to get a steamboat down someplace.
And he's brand new, too. Jeff Jack, ladies and gentlemen. All right, there's just a little more to that story, too. In the course of our research on Stevens Avenue, we stumbled onto this. But you would think, all right, one steamboat, right? On the Neosho River, the guy found out that there are places on it during the summer that you could walk barefoot across it and never get your big toe wet, right? Probably never be another steamboat on the Neosho River. Well, 1899, the steamship, the City of Erie, was launched yesterday afternoon. 60-passenger capacity, daily excursion between Erie and Oswego. Stay tuned. Let's go down the street. We need to go across the street. Excuse me. This group of gentlemen on the porch up here are rehearsing for an event that they're going to participate in. They have a very unusual name for this quartet. It's called the Labette Creek Crooners. And here they are.
You may sing of your roses which by other names would smell just as sweetly, they say. But I know that my rose would never consent to have that sweet name taken away. Her glances are
please.
I wanted to tell them that was just our practice.
Oh, that's your practice. Wait till we get to the real stuff.
It gets good.
Yeah, introduce these gentlemen.
This is Gordon McDonald. I'm Pete Hughes. What's your name? Andy Horner. And this is Marlon, who we had to call at the last minute hop.
Give another hand. They were good. Or did a good job. I don't know how many tours these guys have been on, but they always put on a good show. How many have you been on?
How many tours have you had?
12. You've been on them.
We brought rain on Broadway.
Yeah, you brought rain to several of them, I think. Oh, my. Look here. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, sir.
Could I ask your name and the year you're from?
My name is Belle Neal, and the year is 1907.
1907. Well, do you live here, Miss Neal?
Yes, I do. I recently purchased this home from Ella Seaver for the cost of $5,500. It's just been completed.
That wasn't a bad price. Well, I don't know. That was probably a lot of money, wasn't it? 1907. One question I need to ask you, ma'am. Are you a married lady?
No, sir, I'm a widow. My husband died 3 years ago. And since then, I just gonna keep up the farm. We used to farm southeast of Labette City, and so I bought the house here in town.
Well, do you have children, Miss Neal?
I have 2 sons, Earl and John D., after my husband.
Oh, I see. You have kind of a different sound to your voice. Are you French or Irish or something?
Yes, sir, I'm of French descent. I'm originally from Hamilton, Ohio. My grandfather came to this country with General Lafayette during the Revolutionary War, and his name was Jean-Pierre Lesueur.
Oh, how about that, huh? You thought you had a background, right? Leah Newland, ladies and gentlemen. Homer Neal, are you here today? This was Homer Neal's grandmother. I mean, not Leah, but the one. Well, anyway, let's go on down the street, okay? Carrying my speaker is Chris Miner. And that's a hard job, thankless job. Thanks, Chris. Oh my, this is a pretty old place. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Could I ask your name and the year you're from?
Yes, my name is Martha Rowe, and the year is 1880.
1880. Are you a married lady, Miss Rowe?
Yes, I am. My husband is William Rowe, and he is a quarryman out at the Rock Quarry.
Oh, south of Oakwood there.
Yes, yes.
Well, this is a lovely little house. Is this your home?
Yes, it is. My husband and I moved to Parsons in 1879, and just shortly after that, we bought this land and built this house.
Well, this is a lovely house. Do you have children, Miss Rowe?
Yes, we do. We have 2 children. We have 2 boys. We have William is 8 years old, and Thomas is 17. Thomas, our son, 17, he is working out south of Parsons. He is working at a brickyard out there. And our son, William, 8, of course, he goes to school, and he'll be going to school over here at the Lincoln Elementary School.
Oh, well, this is 1880. They've just finished the new school up there, haven't they?
Yes, they have. You know, my husband and I came to Parsons in 1879. We were both slaves. My husband, William, and I came from Kentucky. William was born in 1833, and I was born in 1837. And we moved to Parsons from Kentucky. And you know, in the late 1870s, more than 25,000 ex-slaves and their families moved to the state of Kansas. More than 1,500 of them moved to the Parsons area in the late 1870s.
Isn't that amazing? Well, I have a question for you, Miss Rowe. Of all the places that you could have went to, why did you come to Parsons? Was there something here you felt this? Did you feel there was a good future for you and your family here?
Yes, Maynard, as most of the slaves left Kentucky coming to find freedom after slavery ended, we felt like that this would be a good area, so we came to Parsons and settled here. Actually, we were looking for the American dream, the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That's why we came to Parsons.
Aren't we all? Miss Jackie Payne, ladies and gentlemen. Well, a little more about this story. In 1865, when the Civil War ended, this ended slavery as we knew it. Our Congress passed a number of pieces of legislation to rebuild the South, to rebuild its cities, its industries, and several pieces of legislation to aid the changeover from slavery, to educate and train those ex-slaves to be productive citizens. However, by 1875, we find in the South that many of those ex-slaves felt that they were worse off as free men than they had been as slaves. We see a new organization formed in the South called the Freedmen's Society. This group was formed for a purpose. Its purpose was to take a large number of these ex-slaves and their families out of the southern states to the north. Between 1875 and 1880, over 250,000 of these ex-slaves left the southern states. 25,000 of them came to Kansas in that period. 1,500 of them came to Parsons, Kansas. This group of individuals were very industrious and became a very important part of this community and are to this day. Thank you. They do get prettier, don't they? Ma'am, you live here on Stevens?
No, sir. I go from door to door buying and selling used clothing.
Buying and selling used clothing?
Yes.
Isn't that interesting? Well, what do they call you, a person that goes door to door buying and selling used clothing?
Father has a business, strictly second-hand. Everything from toothpicks to a baby grand. Stuff in our apartment came from Father's store. Even clothes I'm wearing, someone wore before. It's no wonder why I feel abused. I never get a thing that ain't been used. I'm wearing second-hand hats, second-hand clothes. That's why they call me Second-Hand Rose. Even our piano in the parlor, Daddy bought for 10 cents on the dollar. Second-hand pearls, I'm wearing second-hand curls. I never get a single thing that's new. Even Jake the plumber, he's the man I adore. He had the nerve to tell me he's been married before. Everyone knows that I'm just second-hand Rose from Stevens Avenue. From Stevens Avenue. No.
Miss Amy Jones, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Amy. Well, this is an interesting combination, isn't it? Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, sir.
Can I ask you your name and the year you're from?
Well, my name is Sarah Thurber, and it's 1893.
1893. Well, that's a good-looking cat, isn't it? Looks like a modern-day cat. Well, is this a new home that looks like you're doing something here?
Yes, I've been in the process of moving, and I just had to stop and let my cat have a little break, you know, a pet. But we just built this house, and we're just moving in.
Oh, I see. Well, where did you live before you moved over here?
Well, right next door at 1707. And we took a long time to really be able to move from that place. We built it in 1879, and we're just now moving in.
Okay, if you're going to move into your new house, what are you going to do with the old house?
We decided to keep it as an apartment building, but let me tell you, when we rent that out, we are not going to let our renters smoke or drink or do anything of that nature.
Oh, don't rent that one, I'll tell you that. Huh? Well, this is a lovely house here. Now, when did you build this one?
Well, we just constructed it this year, and we are, as I said, are just moving in. But I am in the process of moving, as you can tell, and I would love to stand here and chat with you, Mr. Harding. And I would even offer you the opportunity to help me move. But if you don't want to do that...
I think, yeah, we'll see you later. Sally Lundblad, ladies and gentlemen, and her cat. Oh, my. This lady looks kind of familiar. I don't know why. Let's meet her and find out, Barbara. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Can I ask you your name and the year you're from?
Well, my name is May Roscobb, and this is 1927.
1927. The flappers and bathtub gin and all that stuff, right? Oh. This looks like a fairly new house. Is this your home?
Yes, we just recently finished building this house and moved in. We bought an original house here in 1908, and we paid an astronomical amount of $4,250. And 2 years later, it burned to the ground. So we had to live over on Durr for a few years until we could gather the funds to build this home. And we're real pleased with it, but there's every possibility that I may have to get a job outside the home just to pay the taxes on this home.
Oh, my. Well, let me ask, what does your husband do for a living, ma'am?
My husband is George Roscoff. I believe you know who he is. He's very well known in this town.
What does he, let's see, he works for the Katy or something, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Doesn't everybody?
Just about, don't you, Lee? Just about. You mentioned the taxes on this house in 1927. What are the taxes on this house?
The taxes are nearly $270.
Woo! It is high, 1927, isn't it? Well, what are you going to do? You think you're going to have to get a job, huh?
Well, I have no other way of paying for it. I mean, this is just completely out of bounds.
Miss Carol Bush, ladies and gentlemen. There is just a little more to that story. The taxes were $269 something a year on this new house. They had 5 children. He worked at the Katy and the foundry over there as a molder. You know, this is a serious problem. No, this is not 1993. It's 1927. Well, there's good news on the way. This is just between you and me, right, Dale? Mrs. Roscoff inherited some money just shortly after we talked to her, and she didn't have to get a job. Okay? Oh, okay. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mr. Harding.
Can I ask you your name and the year you're from?
Yes, my name is Reba Armour, and it's 1912.
1912. Are you a married lady?
Yes, ma'am. My husband's name, yes, sir. My husband's name is Joseph. He's a conductor for the MKT Railroad.
Works for the Katy, huh? Well, this is a lovely little home here. Is this your home?
Yes, we just bought this home. It's brand new, and we paid $3,300 for this home.
My goodness. 1912, Dale. $3,300. Who built this house?
George Roscoe, the next door neighbor, built this house, and we purchased it from him.
Well, this is lovely. Do you have children, ma'am?
No, no children.
Well, have you lived in Parsons long, you and your husband?
No, we're new to Parsons. We like the town. The people are very friendly. It would be a wonderful place to raise children.
Yes, it would. Well, what's going on in town in 1912?
Well, the commercial bank at 19th and Main just opened, and the cornerstone for the new post office at 17th and Main has just been laid.
Well, sounds like the town's doing all right, doesn't it? Huh? Let's find out who she really is now. Your name is?
My name is Debbie Ganaway.
Debbie Ganaway. Thank you, Debbie. Very nice. Debbie's first time, too. Does this little house look familiar to you? Think about it now. When you're driving up and down the streets in our town, from now on, I want you to start looking at some of these little houses, okay? There are a lot of these. Probably over 200 of them in the city. Because you can buy the blueprints for these at the lumberyard for $5. Complete set of blueprints. We find these cottages, 2 bedrooms usually, from about 1890 up to clear up almost to 1920. Very well built, most of them. This is an excellent floor plan. So if you're thinking about building your new house, Lee, you ought to get a set of these plans. $5, right? Oh. Oh, look at this old house. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, sir.
Could I ask you your name and the year you're from?
My name is Sarah McCormick. The year is 1882.
1882. Well, are you a married lady?
Yes, I am, sir. My husband's name is Adam. He's a building contractor, and we have a 5-year-old son, Wilbert.
I see. Well, your husband's a building contractor, then I'm assuming that he built this house.
Yes, we just finished building it this year and moved in. He has built several other houses around Parsons.
I see. Well, that's very interesting. This is one of the larger houses in the neighborhood. Your husband, his name sounds kind of familiar. Was he a Civil War veteran?
Yes, he was, until he suffered a gunshot wound to his arm. But the Army gave him an $18 a month pension.
The Army gave him a what pension?
$18 per month pension.
$18 a month for a Civil War pension, huh? Yeah. Terry Poe-Miller, ladies and gentlemen. And that was one of the bigger pensions, believe it or not. When the pensions you became eligible for those pensions, widows, for example, received a standard pension. Everybody knew that, right? $9 a month. I don't think you'd get along on that, could you, Chris? You couldn't, could you? Okay, we're going to go across the street, right? Oh, my. Let's meet this guy up here. I bet this is an interesting story. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Can I ask you your name and the year you're from?
My name is Dr. John Tinder. The year is 1901.
1901. Dr. Tinder. Well, he's got on a stethoscope and everything, Vince. And a button. Dr. Tinder, is this your home here?
Yes, I purchased this home in the spring of this year.
Did you build it?
No, it was built in 1878, and I bought it from a Mr. Walker who actually doubled the size of this a couple of years ago.
Well, it is a big house. Doctor, do you specialize in anything? I mean, are you a specialist or are you a general practitioner? What do you do?
Well, actually, I'm an eye, ear, nose, throat specialist. But 2 years ago, I started a school for suggestive therapeutics.
What was that name again?
I started the School of Parsons Suggestive Therapeutics.
Suggestive Therapeutics. Okay. You want to find out about that? Doctor, what is suggestive therapeutics?
Actually, the purpose of the school is to train doctors and nurses and other highly educated people about the induction of anesthesia and other behavioral symptoms due to hypnosis.
Oh, hypnosis. That's what he's talking about. Hypnosis in 1901 in Parsons, Kansas? That's interesting, isn't it? How do you hypnotize somebody?
Well, now, the thing is, it takes concentration. And you have to imagine and listen to my voice as I rotate a coin, and at some point, I will be able to hypnotize you if you gently listen to my voice.
Dana Kreitz, ladies and gentlemen. You did pretty good with that, didn't you? Okay, let's go on down the... Oh my, they do get prettier, don't they? Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hello, sir.
Can I ask you your name and the year you're from?
I'm Lenora Baldridge. The year is 1912.
1912. Now, is this your home here, Miss Baldridge?
Yes, it is. My husband Thomas and I live here.
Very nice. This is a fairly new house, isn't it?
Yes, it is. We bought this property in 1910 for $1,700. It did have a small house that was built in 1873 on the property. We had that torn down last year and built this last year, 1911.
I see. Well, what does your husband do for a living, ma'am?
He is a owner and operator of the meat market at 1907 Main.
A businessman here in our town.
Yes, he is.
How many meat markets do we have in town?
We have 5.
Well, that's not too bad. Everybody gets a little business. Opal, how many grocery stores are in town?
53.
53? 53 grocery stores in our town, 1912. Well, how big a town is this?
We are only about 16,000 now.
Don't we wish? Miss Becky Turner, ladies and gentlemen. We got up to 79 mom and pop grocery stores in our community. And if you drive around our town looking for that little house, look for those grocery stores. Those buildings are still sitting in just about every neighborhood, aren't they? And we traded with Harold Raymond at 14th and Main, and I was 16 years old before I knew that you had to pay for any groceries, because Mom would just send me to the store and say, get a loaf of bread. I go get it. I didn't know Harold was putting it on our bill till Saturday. Let's go across the street, okay? Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Lovely outfit.
Well, thank you.
Yes, very nice. Could I ask you your name and the year you're from?
I'm Maggie Payne, and this is 1927.
1927. Seemed like we've been there before, Bob. Well, is this your home here, Miss Payne?
Yes, it is. We purchased this in 1916.
I see. Well, is this a brand new house that you have on here?
Oh, my, no. This house was built in 1885. Just last year, we finished a total remodeling job in which we redid the roof line, the interior, and the basement. But the outside is still the same size and shape that it was originally in 85.
Well, that's quite an undertaking. What does your husband do for a living?
He's an engineer on the MKT Railroad.
Surprise. Huh. 1927. We had a house down the street that we looked at that the taxes were kind of high on it. What about your taxes on your new built home?
Oh, it's just disgusting. Before we remodeled, we paid about $70 for the year's taxes. Last year, we had to pay $160.
You hear that, Dale McBride? Where are you at? That's terrible, isn't it? Taxes were high then, too. Man, goodness gracious. Well, you know, there's a group of us, Mrs. Payne, that were going to go out and eat dinner after the tour. And this is 1927. We were wondering, is there a good restaurant in town, you know, someplace that we could go?
You have such a large crowd here, but down on 2114 Main, there's a place called the Green Duck. You might be able to fit everybody in there. You might try it. By the way, their specialty is frog legs.
Frog legs, huh? Well, many restaurants are there in our town in 1927?
We have about 25.
25 restaurants, huh? Janice Brady, ladies and gentlemen. And 2 cafeterias. Forgot those. One on Broadway and one on Main Street. 1920s, good time in our town. All of the actors and actresses, would you come up here with me, please? Are any of them here? Come on, Dana. Come on, everybody. Also the bag ladies, I mean the greeters. Let's just line up across here. Let's line up across. I think it's a long line here. Father, Leon, where are you at? Okay, let's just go on across this way. Or that's fine. You're right. Yeah, let's get that sister act together there. This has been fun, hasn't it? Huh? We had a good time, didn't we? It has taken 60 people to put this tour on. A lot of people in it. Who in the world is putting out all this work for a Sunday afternoon stroll down Stevens Avenue? Well, I'll tell you. They're people just like you. You've been thinking about coming and helping us, haven't you? Why don't you call me? We'd love to have you join us.